to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down Infamous. Hello, and thank you for joining the Infamous podcast. I'm Brandon, or Meatless on the forums.
And I'm Parker. You sometimes go by Tweak on various forums.
But no one uses forums anymore, so screw that.
Yeah. I don't know the last time I've seen a forum.
Yeah.
It's all just does anybody know if anybody's out there anymore, right?
I'm pretty sure at least anything I've seen for MCP has pretty much just been Facebook stuff so far. But,
yeah.
All right. So welcome to our opening podcast. This is going to be a weekly podcast. We're aiming to do about 1 hour long shows, and we'll be talking about upcoming topics and general things that the podcast is going to be doing in the future. So starting out, our audio format is going to be primarily talking about games that we've played of Marvel Crisis Protocol and interactions within the games. We'll be talking a lot about the individual elements in the game, like the different characters, tactic cards, crisis cards, stuff like that. And today we're just going to do kind of an overview. So we'll primarily talk about what we like about the game and things previously. In the future, we'll probably have a third person in on this podcast. So starting out, Parker, how long have you been playing Marvel Crisis Protocol?
I jumped in right about the time of Asgardians. So was that early 2020? Before? Yeah, that was. Or was that even 2019? That was.
No, I'm pretty sure that was. I'm pretty sure it was right around the turn of the year, because the original release, obviously, the core set came out about October, and then the first things we saw were Venom and the Wakandans, and I don't think we saw the Asgardians. Actually, now that I think about it, it was probably December we got the Asgardians.
Yeah, I remember. I fell in love with the Wakandan cards. I am a kind of person that I do not jump into games when they're young, and I know that that's really bad for game environments because you want people to jump in to get big game groups and local game stores going. And I just can't stand shallow games. But MCP ramped up so fast, it fed my need for variety and my horrible faction ADHD. So I as soon as I saw the box was huge already, but once there were already 4 factions in the game, I was sold. And then of course more coming out. So it was easy for me to jump in at that point because of how quick this game has allowed me to do pretty much whatever I want with Marvel. So it's been awesome.
I'd like to assume that most people listening to the podcast are players of the game. But as just a quick overview for anyone who isn't super familiar, the game is a small skirmish scale game. It's primarily an amalgamation of the 2 games of Star Wars Legion and War Machine from Privateer Press. I think it's a nice combination of the 2 games. They did a good job of streamlining the mechanics in the game while keeping the important crunchy bits of War Machine, like the timing chart and interactions with terrain and stuff, and the ability to do power attacks and things are, I think, really helpful for the spirit of the game. But in where War Machine can get kind of clunky with lots of different figures moving around each other, the acts of moving characters around the map and measuring distances is extremely streamlined, which is mostly taken from Star Wars Legion.
Yeah, I really like how they... MCP, you got to give it to them every time, because when you play Marvel Crisis Protocol, they did a really good job of borrowing the best parts of a lot of games, kind of filling in the cracks, like Jurassic Park, right? Like the DNA of the frog, we just put it in to complete the code, and it made something that makes you, if you love Marvel Universe, which is it's one of my favorite things. I'm sitting right now next to a giant catalog of Marvel comics. So the very first time I played it, I was like, I am not playing a game that's like a good simulation of it. I feel like I'm playing Spider-Man. I feel like I'm playing Captain America. I feel like I'm playing MODOK. You want to use you want to feel like the characters are feeling, because it is such a good job. the design of this game. And I think it's because they already knew how they were going to do it, how to make characters feel special and interesting and different, and then they applied it really well. So if you haven't played the game, go get you some of this game. It's a good game.
Yeah. Sorry, I just came across a misprint on one of the cards, and it's completely derailed my thoughts. We'll get to that later, but
Okay.
I'm definitely going to tell you about that, Parker.
Okay.
So anyway, I've been playing since the game launched. I got a demo before the game came out, and I'm a huge fan of superheroes. Unfortunately, though, I don't read comics because it's just not. I don't enjoy the medium. I don't like 8 pages of like, captions and like very little things going on in an individual issue, and I've just never been able to keep my attention. Fun. I know.
That's where it's
I think I might actually enjoy graphic novels, but I have so little time to read that I just don't. I don't think it'd keep my attention, and they're kind of expensive, honestly. Like, aren't they like $20 to $30 per graphic novel?
It depends on where you get them. Like, I'm a big bargain shopper. Like, I will wait for, comic book shops will have, like a clearance rack where you can get them for, half off, sometimes even a quarter off. And so if I'm not picky about what title I want to read, I'll go in there and I'll just be like, this looks like an interesting Avengers story or a weird Punisher story or, a cool Spider-Man story. And I'll just pick them up, even if I don't know like the context of the events happening in the graphic novel. But there are a few things that I'll shell out for. But it's like, for me, I always wait for Christmas for the big guns. Like I have some like $60, $70, $80 graphic novels because they're huge Marvel events on giant hardcovers and there's 100+ pages in them. So those do cost a pretty penny. But for the most part, you can enjoy the hobby without breaking the bank if you're willing to be a little patient or shop around a bit. But
yeah. You just gotta wait for those comic book stores to go in. They're going out of business sales. You can get crazy good deals.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of small businesses, just for background knowledge, I'm a manager of a small game store in Kansas City. I've been doing that for a few years, and before that, I've worked in other game stores for a while. So I have a pretty good breadth of knowledge for games in general, and I've been forced to listen to about every story about gaming there is. So
I was going to say, while sitting behind that desk, you've heard everything about everything. Brandon, have you heard the super cool one that happened in my RPG last night? A super cool RPG.
Yeah,
moment.
tell me about your RPG that I really need to know about. Anyway. So, like I said, I've been in the game since it started. I am a collectioner, I guess. I like to collect everything about the games that I do play. And so I'm usually, when I play like War Machine, I play like 6 or 7 factions, have everything in the faction. And like for smaller games like Marvel, I tend to just buy everything, even if I'm probably not going to use it. So that leaves me having lots of unpainted miniatures, but I do try and get them painted eventually. Parker, are you also buying everything still, or are you selecting what you buy?
There was a time in which I would just be like, I want all of this game, and I would just get it all. And there are still games that I play that I do that for. Marvel's Crisis Protocol has been one of those games that I started off very selective because I was like, I don't know how much I'm really going to like this game, so I'm going to pick my favorite heroes, the ones I read a lot, the ones that seem really cool on the table. I want to marry my love for them with their abilities in the game. But then I started buying models, and I just kind of haven't stopped. So at this point, I'm pretty much just collecting everything. The only models that I haven't gone back and purchased yet are actually the Asgardians. When I was buying, I actually ended up buying all of the Wakandans, but I did not buy the Asgardians. And the main reason why is I actually have a lot of Asgardian themed books, but their rules just seemed, we'll talk about that someday. Their rules just seemed super uninspiring is the word I would use. And I was like, I'll have a limited amount of time to play this. Something you know about me is I'm a teacher full time and have 2 awesome little girls, and so my play time is pretty limited. I'm on daddy's schedule, so I play after they're in bed or sometimes over the weekends when I'm catching cookies with mom and my wife is willing to watch them. So with limited amount of time, I have decided to not buy absolutely everything that they'll ever offer. But I have a feeling that eventually I'll want maybe just to buy the boxes just to get like some of the crisis cards and the scenario plays and that kind of stuff, because I don't have all of those. Like I don't have the Hulk, I never bought him. Not because I don't love him, just because like I just didn't buy him. I wasn't excited to play him at the time. But yeah, the Asgardians of the Hulk are the only ones I'm currently missing.
Didn't you originally come in to buy the Asgardians? Like, that was the first team you were going to buy?
100%. Yes,
Okay.
I was excited to buy them, and then I learned a little bit. I got to play some games, right?
Yeah, I remember I did a learner game with you.
Yeah, I got to play some games, and I was like, I don't think I will enjoy these guys. I think they will be something else that other people would really enjoy. I could totally see it, but I want to play something more dynamic. And we could talk about them later. Asgardians are just kind of like, they do what they do. They're exactly what they do. I like every single activation of my character for them to do like 5 things. If they do 5 things each activation, then I feel complete. I feel good. And that's not really Asgardians. So
yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't at the time, but I'm double checking now.
That's true.
Because I'm actually pretty sure. Didn't they add? Oh no, that's right. They haven't talked about that yet. We're pretty sure though that Enchantress is going to end up as an Asgardian. So
yeah, Enchantress will actually be their first character that it's like, I'm going to do 5 things every turn. But
Loki's pretty good at that, but not maybe as good.
Yeah, every time I've seen Loki on the table, he's really good at disrupting. He's like, I'm going to be this little speed bump in the middle here, like a mystical speed bump, and I'm going to be a real jerk, and you're going to have to play around me all the time, and aren't I annoying? And it is super annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But he usually ends up just doing 2 actions, and that's all he gets. But because his defensive ability is so good. So good!
Yeah, he's pretty defensive.
Yeah. But you got to have that power for that. You got to have that power if you want to use that ability, which you do all the time.
All right. Well, talking about future podcasts, like I said before, this is just kind of a little intro podcast, and we'll have 3 people on more than likely in the future. We have 2 other potential guests. We have Jason and Jeremy. One of them will usually probably be our 3rd person, depending on the week. Topics we'll be talking about in the future. We're going to go into kind of like a rules deep dive, talking about like commonly mistaken rules or like frequently asked questions about the rules. I know in the Facebook groups I'm part of, we get lots of questions about like timing and interactions of different abilities. So it's not going to be like explaining basic movement or anything. It'll be talking about like commonly, misinterpreted rules or like things that you should know if you want to be able to use particular abilities correctly. I think the most important thing for a lot of newer players to the game is go read the timing chart until you actually understand it. I know it feels like a wall of text the first couple times you read it, but knowing the timing effects on like if you're attacking MODOK and you have the ability to modify your dice, like how is that going to happen? Like that's actually really important. And it's going to help you make better choices all the way from choosing your roster at the start of the game to like target priority deployment, everything like that is going to be affected by you understanding the interactions of the rules.
Yeah, it's one of the things about this game that's super cool about it is every character feels really special, and every character feels like they can like even though you brought like this little support 2-point character, he might win the game if you utilize him correctly and you do all the things he does. So that also means you have to be really really fluent with the rules, so you have all those tools in your back pocket. Because if you are not quite sure how things work, or how an individual character could, become more than he is at face value, then you could end up missing something really important that he could have contributed to your game. So yeah, we're not gonna talk about every single character, obviously, all the time and everything that they can do.
Oh, we're gonna talk about every single character.
What I mean is go through every single character's rule and talk about like this is how you would move them medium speed. This is how you would attack with them. It won't be that pedantic, but
yeah. We are going to be going through each character tactics card, crisis card, and faction in the game at one point, and we'll be giving them a rating, more than likely from 1 to 10, but we'll also be sorting them into different categories. And so like different characters we'll give terms like bruiser or tank or something like that, or like support character or controller. And that'll just be like a side project in addition to the rating each character. And that way it'll give us the ability to cover every individual item in the game over the course of the episodes we will release. And that will allow us to actually talk about like different interactions that we want to without just jumping from random point to random point. But also like it should probably help people that do listen that are looking to build new lists for like understanding like different combinations of cards. Like, you don't want to overload on one type of thing in your list. You don't want to have all 5 of your tactics cards be healing cards unless that's a very intricate strategy that you've decided to play with.
I will never die.
Yeah.
That's your. That's
Trust
what
me,
I wanna do.
guys, I'm going to live forever. We're also going to go into a pretty heavy list building discussion talk as a group. We'll talk about things like characters chosen for your list, which scenarios to choose, which tactic cards to choose, and then how to select those based on which opponent you get paired against during your games. And then once we do our basic discussion on those points, we'll go back and cover them again in later podcasts on more in-depth like strategy for like tournament play as opposed to just pickup games.
I'm really excited about the list building conversations because this game, they really, I love what they did in this game where it's all a pool. Like, you bring a pool to the table and then you select things after you know some things about what's going to happen in the game and scenario play and what your opponent is bringing. I love that you can make try to split the difference between two factions when you come and I don't know if I want to play Avengers or Cabal. Maybe I can try to bring both and pick one before the game starts. And is that even possible? I'm really excited to explore that kind of stuff.
I'm really excited.
That's one of my favorite things about this game.
Yeah, I'm really excited to sit down and talk about it with a group of people too. I know in the past there's been a lot of different games that have tried to solve the bad matchup problem, where you talk about War Machine has gone through multiple list selection. They've gone through specialists, which is basically like a sideboard mechanic. There's been varying effectiveness in different games based on scenario. There's been all kinds of things like taking characters in your list that make you stronger versus certain factions, or different even parts of the game. Like War Machine, if anyone's familiar with War Machine, there was a character, because War Machine and Hordes were 2 mirrored games and they were allowed to be played with each other. And there's a character called Iris, and she was incredibly powerful versus one of the 2 sides of the game and basically worthless versus the other. And so if you knew that all your bad matchups were on the left side of basically the list, the faction options, you could take that to hedge your bets against those bad matchups. There's a lot of weird things that people have tried in the past to solve the, I brought all infantry to it, and my opponent brought all armor. Is I have no way to get through this armor. I like the way they've designed the game, because you always have an option to try and climb out of a hole. And I haven't honestly even seen that many truly bad matchups yet. It seems like it's mostly play driven.
Yeah, one of the things that I really liked about this game is one of the other things that they borrowed. I don't know if they borrowed it from War Machine or any other game type, but the objective focus of this game is really nice. If supervillains and heroes really wanted to, they could probably just murder each other, right? Wolverine could definitely just murder everyone, right? He probably could. There have been Marvel comics about that exact topic. Yeah. So I like that this game is about the objective play, and yes, you can try to beat up your opponents, and there's probably going to be a part of your strategy that includes that. But at the beginning and the end of the day, your main objective is literally that, the objectives on the board, and how are you playing that, because that's the thing that actually wins the game. And I love that, because there's so many games that kind of have been boiled down to, well, I just kill your guy. How can you win? Because I killed your guy. Mm-hmm. But that's not the way Marvel Crisis Protocol works. So it's
I love that the captain of getting assassinated in War Machine is I'm so tired of not winning on scenarios. I've seen you spend so many games setting up longer than the game lasted. It's so funny.
It's possible that I may have been assassinated on turn 1 many times. It's possible. It's possible that is something that I lived with while I played that game. But I really enjoyed the opportunities when that didn't happen, and I was able to, or I played characters that made it difficult for that to happen, and so I would be able to set up the scenario and I love it's not a negative play experience if you're playing the game to the scenario, right? If you're trying to find a way to go, okay, well, I know you can do this and you can do this and you can do this, but if I just remove this model here and mind control that model there, it doesn't matter all of the things you can do, because I'm still winning. I discovered it with this tactical decision rather than this overwhelming force decision. I really like that. I think it's a very appealing thing to me because I used to get assassinated on turn 1 a bunch. So,
I prefer the overwhelming force, but
I know you do. I know you do.
I think a lot of war gamers, because I think it's becoming a lot more popular hobby in the recent years. But I mean, part of that is because of the availability. More stores are able to have access to these newer games. Because if we go back, let's say like 5 years ago, there's very few truly scenario-oriented war games or miniatures games in general. Like the majority of the games, like War Machine was fairly centric on scenario, but it was still a pretty heavy attrition-based game. 40K is almost exclusively attrition-based still at that point. They've made huge steps forward already. And going back 10 years ago, it was almost exclusively attrition based. And if we go back 20 or 30 years ago, like 30 years ago, your only option was effectively like, I guess, what is that game called? It's like Team Fight Tactics. No, it's Squad Leader, Advanced Squad Leader. That's the name of the game.
Right.
And it's like, all the way down to you need to keep track of like the bullets an individual soldier on your team has in his magazine and like how much water is in his canteen, like that level of intricacy, but still it was exclusively attrition based. And then the other games that were available are all historical miniatures games like Napoleonics, where it's you effectively line up and my block of infantry kills a percentage of your block of infantry based on a flowchart. And it's like, okay, well, like this is like, well, it's mechanically sound and it's a fun interaction, but it's very little on the side of like active response to situations. And basically you're coming into the game with a plan, you execute your plan to the best of your ability, and you kind of just see what happens. And I think there's a reason we've seen this massive push towards strategy and scenario-based missions, because people don't want to just line up and roll dice anymore. That's not entertaining anymore. If we want to do that, you can just play StarCraft and just run Marines at people. Like, that's not interesting anymore.
Yeah, it's even worse than that, because at least in StarCraft, there's like the fog of war, right? You don't even know what's across from. But in some war games, they're set up to be like, well, all of my guns are range 36, and oh look, we're playing on a 36-inch board, so I suppose I will stand here and you will stand there, and we will roll dice.
My Basilisk has a 240-inch range. Where's your model? 11 inches away.
It's so. And I'm not downplaying those games. There are lots of people who like to stand there, beer and pretzel style, and just roll a lot of dice at each other. But you didn't even need to spend a lot of money or paint a lot of models or even spend the 45 minutes it took to set up the game to do that. And that's one of the reasons why I love. You're going to hear me be an MCP cheerleader all the time. Rah rah, shish kebab. This game was designed very well for people who wanted to make every game session worth it, like feel good. Even when you lose, like you never lose because you got your one key piece taken out by random chance and then it's over. You lost by like 3 objective points, or something like that. You were in it the whole time. You can't possibly just getting tanked is difficult. You can sometimes get disappointed by, your favorite model didn't do what you wanted it to do. But one of the things I love about Marvel's Crisis Protocol is you sit down to play it for your hour-ish, however long, it's taking you. And you were happy that you brought your models. You were excited that you got to play. You got to do something. It's never like you bought the dress, but you didn't even get to go to the prom, right? Like you automatically get to play. You get to do something, and I love that about this game. It doesn't feel cheaty and robbing to me, anyway. I haven't had that experience yet, even when I've lost a bunch.
Yeah, and not to discourage any of the other games. I think as long as you and your opponent are having a good time, obviously your game is for you. But I think there's the overwhelming majority of people are looking for a more intellectually stimulating game, which is why even what has been widely considered like beer and pretzels games in the past are making that step forward, because it includes more people to allow them to have fun in their game, which is, I think, good for everybody. So,
yeah.
All right. So we've talked about what we're going to talk about in future podcasts. We've talked about things we like about the game. We talked briefly about the rules. Talked about our past.
Did we mention Comics Corner? Did we mention that?
We did not.
Okay.
Because I wasn't going to.
Oh, okay. We didn't have to.
No, you can go ahead. Or I can give you an intro if you want.
Go ahead and give it.
I was just going to say a future topic that we're going to have in every once in a while on our podcast is going to be Comic Corner, where Parker, because he's a big fan of the comic books, is going to tell you about something that he has enjoyed or read recently that, or may even be relevant to what our topic is for the day. And so I'll let him go on from there.
Yeah, I love it. One of the things that they've done with this game is they've drawn directly from major Marvel events, or even like popular lines by characters, or a particular writer or an artist has drawn something out of the character, and they have put it into the game. So I'll do my best to do those kind of call outs, because it always makes me excited. It gives me the giggles whenever I see something cool that I recognize. And I'll also point people towards, if they don't recognize it because they haven't seen it before, if I think it has quality of some kind, I'll make sure that it exists and what it's called, and so that you can go find it yourself and read it. And it will only make your Marvel Crisis Protocol experience better. It's just the other day, I got done reading a Guardians of the Galaxy comic book, and I was like, I have to go paint Groot. I want to paint him so that he can yell, "I am Groot" at things. I want that in my life.
Okay. So now, as a nice little outro, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but do you know what Black Widow's name is? Her personal name?
Natasha Romanoff?
That's what I thought. I would like you to read the card, because it says this on the card. It's Natasha Romanova. Romanova. Yeah. So check the database and just pull up Black Widow. And I don't know why I saw this, but I just randomly glanced over and noticed it on the card. Romanova. But
it 100% says...
But then Natasha the Black Romanova. Widow agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is Natasha Romanoff. And I'm like, boy. What the hell? So, as Comic Corner for this week, I would like you to tell me, is that intentional? Is she known by two different names in the lore?
I have never heard of Romanova. Oh, okay.
Because I immediately went to AtomicMassGames.com and I go to the core set, and it tells me, according here, former top KGB agent Natasha Romanoff has become a force for good, and it literally calls her Natasha Romanoff in the prologue for the box set. But when you get the card, it's Natasha Romanova. And so maybe we'll see in the movie that this is like a throwback alternate identity she has, but I think this is a misprint.
Okay, so apparently what I started doing some searching here.
Is this a known thing? Like, this is supposed to be that way?
Why? Okay, so
if you ask me, it would make sense for them to use an alternate name for her because they knew she was going to have two characters. And so doing one for one and one for the other makes sense to me. That way they have different alter egos. Does that make sense to you? Like, intentionally splitting them up?
Okay. So apparently it has to do with the with just the correct I guess I would call it suffix. It's a feminine suffix for a feminine name. So Romanov, if you pronounce it in Russian, you would say Romanova to insinuate that it is a female. So
she stopped being a female? Or she stopped being Russian, I guess.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So I'm guessing... So Romanov is the anglicization of the Russian surname Romanov-Romanova. So whenever people from outside of Russian language speak Romanov or Romanova, they just pronounce it Romanov, and they lose that genderization. So when she defects to the West, and she left and came over to be an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and
everyone just calls her Romanov because they don't recognize that Romanov. Custom.
Yeah.
So then why is the I guess it's Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I guess because the original Black Widow in the core set is just Black Widow, and then the new one is Black Widow Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So if they
I guess chronologically the one in the core set is actually the older Black Widow.
Uh-huh.
And then
well, this is if they do this on purpose. If they did this on purpose, this is super amazing attention to detail.
I feel like someone fucked up, but because someone involved might have known that, and they put Romanova intentionally, and then maybe whoever was designing the next card forgot or didn't catch it in test, or maybe it's intentional that Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Widow is the loss of the genderization on the name. That's
the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. outfit that she wears is like the model outfit, and the model and the outfit on the card is also one of her next gen outfits. She's had like 8 or 9 different canon outfits, but the original one is the one that she has for the original, the Romanova, right? So perhaps that's what it is. Like, if this is true and it wasn't a mistake, it's a beautiful mistake, because Natasha Romanova is what she would have called herself while she was Russian defecting to the Avengers originally, and she would have had that outfit. That's a classic Black Widow outfit. But then the further generation, when she's an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and she does all this other stuff, working with various parties all over the world, various peacekeeping agencies, then she probably goes by Romanoff, which is the anglicized version.
I'm looking at her card now, and if you just looked at the card, there's no inclination that she's a good guy, and so it's very possible that they did it correctly, because it doesn't say there's no reference to S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Avengers or anything on her card.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is cool. What it also means is, what I want to know is, does this count for taking 2 Black Widows? Is there a rule that I think there is a rule that you can't have 2 of the same surname, right?
Yeah, you can't duplicate the. My understanding, and I haven't read into this a lot because it hasn't been relevant, but in the rule book, the rule for duplicating characters is currently if their alter ego is the same. And so if you look at a card, underneath their big name in bold, it says they're basically their alter ego or their true name or their alias or wherever they are other than that. And so here, I'm in the rulebook now. Section 2 is alter ego, the everyday persona of the character. This is used to identify duplicate characters in the player's roster. Says it right there.
Yeah.
Oh my god, can you take both Black Widows? I think you can.
But sort of, because the argument could be made that is actually the same name, but because of some sort of weird...
It's in black and white, Parker! Black and white!
I'm just saying, technically it's the same
black and
name.
yellow, I guess, based on the art.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think you would have a strong argument if you went to a judge at a tournament that you can play both. I don't know how you wouldn't. Because, based on that, you could say, well, where are we going to draw the line on similar names? God, that's weird.
Because I wondered if they're ever going to do, clone sagas and things like that, for Spider-Man and do some other stuff. And I'm assuming that's how they get it, Ben Reilly or something like that.
But think about, Hobgoblin and Green Goblin. It's if they have similar names, now we're splitting hairs. What if it's just close? Because it's Norman and Harry, right?
No, Hobgoblin was a totally different guy. He stole Green Goblin tech. His name was... What was his name? Roderick Kingsley. That was his name.
So it's just in the movies that his son got it.
Yeah. Also, Ned Leeds. Oh, no. In the movie, that's also happened. Harry and Norman were both the Green Goblin.
Oh, they're the Green Goblin. Okay.
Yes, but Hobgoblin is a totally different guy who got Green Goblin technology, and so there's a guy who was the Hobgoblin for a while. There's honestly 18 different goblins depending upon what universe you're reading and subscribing to, but there are so many goblins because there's even a good Green Goblin that was Ben Urich's nephew. So there's a bunch of random goblin stuff, but there is only one Natasha Romanoff that I know of, but apparently now there's also Natasha Romanova who is the same thing.
Well, now I'm worried. What if there's another Winter Soldier and they just put Bucky under there? Does James Bucky Barnes count as Bucky? I'm just saying. I watched a game of HeroClix one time, and the guy had 7 Hulks. And I was like, aren't characters unique? He's like, yeah, but this is Hulk, this is Son of Hulk, this is Red Hulk, this is Scar, this is Bruce Banner, and then this is the Incredible Hulk. And I'm like, you should be shot. It's legal, bro. Look it up. I'm whatever. And I just walked away from the table.
It is. Well, those are all actually different people. Those are all actually different characters.
Not the Incredible Hulk.
Okay, so you listed Bruce Banner 3 times in there. Yeah.
Right,
But
yeah. Bruce Banner is like exists, and then I think one of them was World War Hulk. Like that was a whole different character, even though it's the same guy.
that's Bruce Banner, yeah.
Yeah, like
But I don't.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. Anyway,
I hope that my personal hope is that people play Romanova like Romanoff. It's the same difference, but I'm sure somebody's going to try it in a tournament, either to be cheeky or try to do something weird. I don't know, like why you would do it necessarily, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
What does it say? What is it? It says they're both Avengers. What does the Avengers card say? Because of the
So the Avengers card was printed before Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a thing. If we go to, let's see, it is, I need to go back here. I'm on their website right now. There is, I want to say, is it under faction? FAQ and errata. Here we go. Core rules, errata. I don't see anything about her under errata, but where is characters? I can't remember where it is, but they did I guess it's just in the main rulebook. I just didn't see it on first scan. Appendix. Oh, it's doing landscape for some reason. That's really weird. Oh, it's transform rules, that's why. Here we go.
Avengers just says Black Widow.
It does. No, I know the card does, but they've updated the cards on one of their online documents. Am I just not going to the right section? Rules, organized play, playtesters, transmissions. Maybe it's under organized play, not the rules. Base size, yeah, here it is. Affiliation list. It's under organized play. So, and then it just has updated lists. So, Avengers is Captain America, Ant-Man, Black Panther, Black Widow, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Captain America, Hawkeye, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, Vision, Wasp.
Okay.
Which, holy cow, I think we're to the point where we kind of need to split those guys up. That's too many.
Yeah.
There needs to be like the new Avengers and have a whole new like roster.
Yeah. Or East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah.
Give me some weirdos. East Coast, West Coast. I don't think I actually want that. For the record, I do not want East Coast and West Coast Avengers.
That would be terrible. Wait.
I do not want.
Yeah, because it would be like Ant-Man, Wasp would be West Coast.
Yeah, like the
but
actual
that's like
West
it.
Coast
Everyone
Avengers,
else is in New York.
right? The actual West Coast Avengers were a bunch of randos. But like War Machine was on there for a while and that kind of stuff. You have to make a whole bunch of new models. But it's weird that Ant-Man and Wasp in the cinematic universe are on the...
I'm going to claim that Hawkeye counts as West Coast because I'm going to choose to believe that his ranch is in Montana.
I'm 100% sure, off the top of my head, that Hawkeye was actually a member of the West Coast Avengers at some point.
See?
In the comic books.
My intuition knew.
Yep, he was 100%. Yep. I had a good feeling about it. But no, Black Widow has two names. I don't like that. I need this to be clear.
Yeah, I think off the air I'm going to go through the errata section and double check that I didn't miss that she's been renamed or clarified to be Romanoff.
Mm-hmm, yeah. What's really interesting is that if they did that on purpose, that's really kind of sly and cool. It's like
it shows knowledge of the subject matter, and that's one of the things I like this game about the most is because it feels like the people designing it really care. As well, you'll get to a lot of stuff where like it feels like the game designers just don't care about what they're doing. They're just printing rules for you to use, and like Venom having the ability to counteract spider senses and like stuff like that, like little things that most people wouldn't even know, but the designers are such fans of the content that we end up getting that stuff into the game, which is, I think, really nice.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get to this topic at least at some point when we do in this podcast, but I want to talk about Gen 2 characters I want to see. Like characters, we saw Black Widow get a second generation character.
Yeah,
there's some Gen 2 characters that I really want to see. I want some, but we Doctor Doom first. Doom.
Doom is going to be a 10-point character that is in the faction Doom, and the only other character in the faction is a Doombot, which is a 1-point lackey.
Oh, I would be so happy if they printed Doombots with Doom.
Yeah. I think they will, because Magneto comes with the scrap tokens, and so I think he'll have like a Ultron-esque card, because we've now seen Deal with the Devil and the Age of Ultron card, and so there's two cards that resurrect somebody at the cost of someone else, And so I think it's going to be a pretty obvious, just like, I play this 5-cost card, Doom shows back up at like full injured, and you killed a Doom bot. Like, that kind of thing is going to happen.
Yeah, or maybe like he makes something over the course of the game, like he constructs tokens like the Punisher, does. Right
I think it would also be fine if they did Doombot like lackeys. Like, you can purchase up to 3 Doombots for like 1 point each. But it would have to be, there would have to be a cap on it, because I wouldn't want people to just show up with like Doom and 8 Doombots. Like, that would be kind of lame.
Or do we?
I mean, I do, but I don't think that'd be fair, because Doom's already going to like 1v5 their entire team.
It wouldn't be a good thing for the game, but
yeah, exactly. So, but I think maybe he'll just come with a set amount, or maybe you can spend power to make them, kind of like the Hela interaction where she gains the tokens for different things happening.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be cool where if you do get to have Doombots, you could have a set number of them. It would have to be hard capped or costly in some way to have them. But then you would have I'm trying to think of a similar rule. It'd be like the sacrifice card, where like you get targeted and it's reactionary. You like spend 4 power, swap places with a Doombot within range 3, and then they kill the Doombot and you're actually over here. Like, it redirects the attack. I think that'd be really cool. Maybe only usable once per turn.
I love all I had to say is Doom.
I'm intentionally, anytime I speak to a person, I have to intentionally try to not talk about Doom. Like, it's one of the things. Like, all right, don't sneeze in their face, don't talk about Doom, don't punch them. All right, moving on.
Do not put water, do not feed after midnight, do not talk about Doom.
Yeah.
But I will be okay with this podcast. One of its pillars of integrity is that we desire Doom. We desire Doom.
I'm in personal contact with Will Pagani, and he knows that I'm going to drive to his house if he doesn't make Doom.
And the thing is, while you get Doom, what I know this to be true, while you get Doom, I get the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
and that's why I desire Doom.
Because I'll be allowed to feel Doom against the Fantastic Four, which will be the most sure win of all time.
Marvel's first family will prevail, he said with all conviction.
I mean, after Doom marries in, I guess.
I like that a lot.
You weren't expecting that, really? I felt like you kind of walked into that one.
I just really like the idea of Dr. Doom. Like, well, if you can't beat him, join him, and then that's it.
Well, I mean, they're going to join him. Like, they were like, "Hey, we don't have any water because you have all the water," and he's like, "Well, you know how to get water."
Doom has all the water. I would like alternate model Dooms. That's my request for Dooms. I want his what do they call the special events? I forget their names.
Ultimate Crisis.
Yeah, I want his Ultimate Crisis to be sitting on something with his fingers steepled. I want finger steeplage, and then I also want to be able to take his arms off, and then he can cross his arms for regular, because those are the 2 ways you ever see Doom. Yeah. He's either steepling his fingers or he's crossed his arms. Those are the 2 ways.
There's the rare third option of you've crossed a line and he's shooting lightning at you.
That's but when he's
that's option 3.
When he's doing that, everyone's dead. Like, there's no like. It's always just like, that's always a, what did you see? And the guy is shakily going, it was Doom, and you get like one panel where he's
it just cuts to
casting
Doom.
Infinite horrors. Yeah.
Castle Latveria.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, this podcast will have a consistent theme. We'll have lots of things we do, but one of those things will be Doom.
We'll have recurring segment, Speculation Corner on Doom, and it's just every week.
What do we think Doom is going to do now?
I think he's going to have like 9 physical resistance. Just base. And then you can spend 1 power to double it. Permanent.
I hope... I actually hope he gets really. I hope he's one of the things I really like about some of the new evil guys is that they switch. When they flip over. Mm-hmm. I hope he's like chill Doom on one side,
and he's like scorched earth on the back.
Yeah, on the backside, he's just I guess he's the awakening the sleeping giant Doom. That's what I want. I want really scary Doom on the backside. I want him to be terrifying on the backside. I actually hope I would be totally cool if he was like very like weirdly healthed, like 4 health on the front side and then like 9 on the back. Some weird thing. Like, I don't know how you balance that in the game, but something like that.
Well, I mean,
where just like
MODOK is
he's
10-4.
totally chill.
Yeah, that's not
right.
that hard.
Okay, so yeah, something like that. I don't know. I don't know which. I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, I guess MODOK being 10-4, that's just, and he doesn't really change a lot to both sides. But that would be something I want Doom to be the opposite. I want him to be really chill until you pissed him off, and now you got to deal with Doom. Ugh, this would be so
I
cool.
cannot wait until the Doom Ultimate Crisis comes out, and that's just going to be my new baseline gameplay. And I'm just going to, like, would you like to play a game? Sure. And I get out my Doom model. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, well, I assumed we were playing the Ultimate Crisis. Like, obviously.
Because I'm playing Dr.
Go ahead
Doom.
and take your 50 points of characters, and then I'll kill you. It'll be fine. We're playing easy mode.
After Doom comes out, I feel like this podcast Brandon will just have a segment called "What I Learned About the Doom Ultimate Crisis This Week."
Well, the podcast will be named Doom.
He'll change. Little fun fact here, little winky head nod. Infamous is also a callback to yet our favorite, Brandon's favorite villain and my favorite hero when Doom was Iron Man for a little while. It was the infamous Iron Man. So that's on purpose. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yeah,
we love us some Doom here.
Slightly intentional.
A little more comic book knowledge dropped on you.
All right. Let's see. Is there anything else we should talk about before ending? I think we got a good amount of content for today. I didn't think we were even going to run this long.
Yeah. Well, we started talking about Doom, so...
Yeah, I know. It just spiraled. Well, back on the Natasha topic real quick before we cut out.
Okay.
So when you were reading up on the Romanov situation, is that a verbal acknowledgement or is it also a written acknowledgement?
What do you mean? Like
you said, you looked up and they talk about how a person, when they're addressing someone, female of the Romanov family, they would say Romanova. But is that a verbal thing? I thought you said it was verbal.
No, it's just like it didn't actually specify.
Okay.
It just said that when addressing someone in Russian, the sir prefix, like ov, ov, is very common ending for Russian names. The ov is the masculine version, ova is the feminine version, but whenever it's anglicized, brought out of Russia, commonly it's just turned into off, off, instead of v. And it's just left that way, and that's the way that anglicization usually works. A lot of last names get anglicized when they go to different places. My name was anglicized. The original Guidry is actually Guidry from France, and when my ancestor, the first Guidry guy, came over from France, they changed the spelling completely because Guidry didn't make any sense in American English, and so they did some funny math to it, but
they used math to change an I to an E.
I think it was funny. They didn't change I have two vowels, so it's Guidry. They didn't change that. They changed the ending. It was EY before. It was ET, I think. Yeah, it was ET. And so they changed that to a Y. That's what they changed. They left the UI together in the front of my name, which is weird. I don't know.
Standard practice.
Yeah. Standard practice.
It's like the QU. Every U is followed by an I, so it's QUI.
Yeah. This whole ET stuff at the end of this, that's bunk. We're going to throw that right out. But these UIs, these two vowels together, we'll be able to figure this out. Everyone will read this name and they won't say gooey dry. It'll be perfect. Don't know.
Okay.
We're thinking there.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thanks for joining us on our intro podcast. And this has been Brandon
and Parker.
Have a good one.
Later. What about Crisis Friends?
So bad. Why are you so bad at this? It's like if we were to invent a robot that was bad at naming podcasts, we'd call it Parker.
We've made a robot that goes with really shitty podcast names.
That's all it does. It is one job. It literally is plugged into the wall and just spits out endless bad podcast names. We would name it Parker. We'd kick you off the show.
By the way, I like everything about what we come up with so far. I really like that beginning a lot.
Stamp of approval.
I dig it a whole bunch.
Okay, I think today we're just going to go ahead and do a mission statement. And so we'll kind of just general talk about like what the podcast is going to be about.
Sure.
That's going to be interesting to listen back. I'll have to cut everything you said out. All right.
I'm going to cut out everything you said. That makes me happy.
I'm only recording my end. That's all that's getting posted. It's a terrible podcast. It's a completely one-sided conversation. It's like I'll ask a question, like, good point, and just move on.
Yeah. So Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island.
Okay, so you said this a second ago. I'm going to dispute this in debate format. Point one. Technically, any landmass can be an island.
I'm following.
And factually, it is at least like a percentage roads. Like a percentage of the state is roads. Now, it is not entirely roads, but percentage-wise, I'd say it's actually a fairly high percentage.
Yeah, I would say there's
several percentage points, I would have to
say. There's a plethora of roads, yes.
At least a high percentage.
At least. Okay, I like that. But you don't want to do that this time. This is not the time we do that.
No, because this is 0. This is episode 0.
Okay.
I'm going to release this as episode 0 next week, as I release episode 1. And so 0 and 1 will drop on the same day, and you can skip 1 if you want to.
Okay.
But I assume a lot of people, if they like episode 1, they'll listen to 0. So.
Mm-hmm.
So keep thinking of podcast names, and if any pop into your noggin, message them to me, and I'll put them on the list.
I was going to say, I can just throw some out there anytime.
Yeah, go right now.
Oh.
Fast as you can.
For Marvel Crossbow podcast names, let's go with Shucka the Jive. That's a good one.
Shucka the Jive? I'm not writing that.
Shucking the Jive.
You're retarded. Parker is dumb.
That's not a podcast.
I literally just put that because that's what
we can't say that online. That's not cool.
Yeah, you can. I do it all the time.
Defamation of character. Actually, there's a good one. That's a good podcast name. Defamation of character.
Muse on Marvel. Got it.
Muse on Marvel. I like that too. We could do. We already got Maximum Effort on the list, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Um.
I'm going to take off my headset and go to the bathroom, but keep thinking.
Okay.
I have you on speakers now.
Oh, I was going to say, Age of Podcast. I like that. There's like 80,000 Marvel Age of things.
Oh, hey, can you drink milk? You're allergic to milk, right?
No, my wife is.
Oh, well, good news for you. You should try the Kahlua pre-made mixed drinks. They're actually really good. I've been drinking.
I haven't had alcohol since the start of coronavirus.
Well, it's good for your immune system. But I've been getting these. Here, I'll turn on my thing. Oh, I'm still streaming. All right, I'm going to stop streaming. And open the video. All right.
I just got a good one.
So I've been doing these. These are really good. And I know you like mojitos.
I do love.
These are hands down the best. Really, they're the best mojitos I've ever had, let alone like pre-made. Because most people don't know how to make mojitos very well.
Right.
All right, so hit me with the knowledge.
Vitamin MCP.
I'm erasing that.
Okay, vitamin M.
No, you're retarded. Parker is dumb too.
Dial M for Marvel Podcast.
Wow, you really were out of these. It's good we stopped when we did.
I don't hate Dial M for Marvel.
Oh, I got it. The Batman Podcast. Same bat time, same bat channel.
The Batman Podcast.
I love it because we'll never talk about Batman.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Maverick and Goose, a Top Gun podcast.
What? These aren't good. Why are you doing this?
I'm just thinking of things that would, if you heard them, people will go, wait, what? Like,
No, but they
trying-
still need to be Marvel podcasts.
But then where do you get Threat Level Midnight? What is that from?
Threat level. Things have a threat level in the game. It's a play on words.
Oh.
Did you not make that connection?
No, I've
God
never been.
damn it! Why are you so bad at this?
I did not make the connection.
The Gauntlet.
How about Infinity Podcasts of Infinity Earths? That's a
I have-
reference. Are you there?
Yeah.
Trying to think of ones. Oh, I got a good one. Days of Future Pod. It's an X-Men reference. Famous X-Men.
I'm aware of that. It's an X-Men thing. Actually, I did know that. Because you're just trying to find like title of story arc and then plug in podcast somewhere in the name.
Yeah.
That's not a title. It needs to be clever and interesting.
The point is that I thought the point of these is they're throwaways.
They are throwaways,
want
but they
us to-
shouldn't be terrible. It defeats the purpose if you're like, thanks for listening to podcast 7, and you're like, hang up, like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, it's pointless.
I got it. I get it. So we're thinking of better names than our name.
No, you just think of a name that you would actually consider naming the podcast.